All right, we got a bowl game today. I'm gonna hit on FanDuel, and then we'll build my DK stuff. Nothing crazy in there. Although I will say I'm gonna have to make sure that I don't do what I did on Saturday, which is build the daggone FanDuel entry and not enter it. That does happen from time to time. That was funny. It wouldn't have won anyway, so it's fine. And then I mean, look, I could sit here and we could talk defensive play, like portal stuff. We could talk offensive linemen, yada yada yada. We're in it for the sexy plays. We're going to talk about quarterbacks a little bit today. I think what I'll do is I'll mix in. So I'll talk quarterbacks today. I'll talk running backs tomorrow. Maybe wide receivers the next day. So yeah, and then I will be live all week talking these bowl games. Main slate obviously is going to be Saturday with the full set of 3 playoff games. I really do wish they did the 4-gamer for the full first round is like the main slate. So you get Alabama, Oklahoma, and then into Saturday, just a full set. I think FanDuel does have that, but it's not their main, which is kind of crap. So I do wish that was the big one. I'd rather take the extra game, even though, Alabama, Oklahoma isn't exactly a barn burner. We're not even really going to play plays from that game for the DFS slate, but I like it just from the simple fact that it would get rid of them and remove them from the slate. So looking at FanDuel today, Jordan Lovett's the clear guy. This is just what I built. Reason being, Jordan Lovett's 3,400. Tay Meadows is our only real opt-out from this game. It's the beauty of playing in these bad bowl games. Starting running back for Troy, he's out with in the transfer portal. They also lost DJ Jackson, the defensive end for them, but nothing too crazy on that end. Starting offensive guard for Troy also is not playing. One of the corners not playing. So they've got some injuries along the offensive line. Goose Crowder sounds like he's going to play more than likely. But the offensive line for Troy is the big issue in this one. And you got a right tackle for Jack State who's probably out. You got a left guard who's out. But other than that, it's fairly status quo. It's kind of interesting. I'm wondering on Cam Cook as to whether he ends up. It is possible he ends up hitting the portal after this, but who knows? He's had such a good year. So from a FanDuel standpoint, I want to load up. My ideal build on DK and FanDuel is to get Cam Cook and Caden Creel, because Cook and Creel are going to account for so many rushing yards. I do worry about Goose Crowder and Lovett and the Troy offense overall because of the offensive line woes and how banged up it's going to be. But realistically, on my end, Jack State-wise, you're looking at Cook, Creel, and DeAndre Johnson as your top options. Outside of that, it gets a little hairy. I'd say the next best guy is probably Pearson Baldwin, usually on a price standpoint. Rex Steiner, Peyton Hit, Caleb Coombs. But I mean, those are all 1 to 2 catch guys based on projection, whereas the other guys are more of your high-end, high flyers. Most of the offense flows through that big 3. So that's where your focus is going to need to be. With FanDuel not having the kickers, that makes a difference as well. And then Crowder, Lovett, Epps, Ra Thomas, Trey Taylor, Ethan Connor. Like, you got a lot more options with 3 catch plus ability. They spread it around a lot more on the Troy side. So there's a lot more options. In this sense, this was an easy build for me. FanDuel wise, I'm only really going to play if it's an easy build for me. And this is an easy build for me. So I have no issues there. And I think Lovett is a great play. Captaining is he going to score as many points as Cook or Creel? Probably not. but the value disparity to be able to get both of them plus you get the big three out of Jack State. You'd be able to get Crowder with Epps, and then you get Lovett. Lovett does have a 20-plus carry game earlier this year. So against ULL, that tells me I feel pretty good with Lovett and his odds to be able to get 20 carries in this one. We'll kind of see on DK where I have some interest as well in Lovett, but he's priced a lot higher in that one than he is over here on FanDuel, making him just a much better value on this slate for that. So that's what I'm going to end up playing on FanDuel here. I'm going to actually make sure I enter that this time, and then we'll build a little DK stuff. I think I'm going to end up playing 4 teams on DK. It's not going to be anything crazy, just some light stuff here. I think I've got 4 made up that I'm interested in playing. Yeah, because I was trying to do something with with Johnson as the captain, but I don't think I'm going to end up going there. I think I want to play this game through Cook and Creel, preferably Creel, given the pricing. That's probably my favorite way to play it. I'm having a hard time getting to Goose Crowder. He's just priced too high, and he doesn't have that rushing capability, especially coming off a leg injury. So he's going to have to throw for 303 plus scores to be able to even get close to Crowder and Cook and Creel. So I probably am just going to end up staying away from that. Let me pull one more team because I want to get one more in there. Yep. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. Let's reserve it. Understood. Reserve. All right. So, let's see. I need one of these. I don't know which one it is. Anyway, I'll just build them out and then I'll add them in later. All right. So, if I'm going to build a Creel captain, I definitely am going to want Johnson as his top option. He's the very clear top option, scoring touchdowns routinely so far late in the year. Big yardage out of him. He's a big play threat, long plays. So he's going to be your play action deep shot guy. Other than him, I want Cam Cook because everything in this offense flows through them. And then when I was building this, I was building it with Lovett. And then I had 2 options. So there's 2 cheap plays that are worth playing. One is Taylor, Trey Taylor. He's the very clear best cheap play with multiple catches. He has upwards of 6 in a game. He's just a consistently on the field. Even in the JMU game, they were just kind of chucking it to him. So he is the very clear top value as far as safety goes. And I'd imagine he ends up being one of the higher owned guys on the slate. And then the secondary piece would be Baldwin, Pearson Baldwin, the tight end from Jack State. He fits well with a Creel lineup like this. You should get all of the receiving production out of Johnson, Cook, and then you're kind of hoping that Creel ends up hitting Pearson Baldwin for a touchdown. If you get one of these, 9, 13, or 8 games, you take it and run in this spot. I think I'm going to end up going with this Pearson team. And that will get me Ra Thomas, which is a different build than I have on some of the other teams. So I like that from that standpoint that now I have 3 pass catching options. I get a runner and the best big play upside wide receiver on the Troy side, the most talented, I would call it, even, given his pedigree. So this is definitely the way I'm going to end up building this. The other way to do it is Taylor and Ethan Connor, which is the Troy tight end. That gives you a little bit more Troy exposure, but the upside isn't there by comparison to this grouping for me personally. So that would be the one way to do that. All right, let's look at the next way. Okay, way number 2. All right, let's build. So the best way to get the big 3 in. So I mentioned Taylor. Let's put Taylor at captain. I mean, that's sacrilegious to an extent. I keep playing with these things every time I do this. I don't know why I end up wanting to do it, but for some strange reason, I constantly like to tinker with the idea of cheap captain, and it burns me more often than not, but we'll see. I'm always going to play one just in case if I'm going to play multiple entries. So this will get you Cook, Crowder, Creel with Lovett and Johnson. So you're going to need to play Crowder with Taylor. I like the Lovett side of this as well. I mean, basically your game script here is you're saying, all right, Cook and Creel and Johnson, which is their big 3, get all of the production. Crowder throws 2 touchdowns to Taylor, and then Lovett runs 1 or 2 in as well. You should get there based on that, right? If all of Crowder's production is based around hitting Taylor for 2 touchdowns, it's possible, right? He throws, let's say he throws for 144 and 3, gets to 20, something like that. And then most of that production goes to Taylor. Taylor gets close to 20. That's going to rack up all your points. So I do have interest in this build from that standpoint. I think it has ceiling and legs to be able to do something decent here. And then throw that in. All right. Finally, the last 2 ways to build, because I'm not going to do a Johnson team. I've played with it, and I can't make it work the way I want. Cam Cook is going to have to be a captain at some point. Kid's too talented not to be. Troy got run all over by JMU. Wayne Knight. I like Wayne Knight. I think Cam Cook is a special talent as well. Playing Creel with him, I think there's 2 ways to go. Do you want to play Crowder? Do you want to play Creel? I prefer Creel because he throws the ball to him so much. I also like Lovett in this spot. I like Epps in this spot. And that gets me Taylor. So now I have enough Troy. And then that's going to buy me Ripa. So this basically tells me game script I'm playing and what I'm going to play out on this is that Jack State's able to run the football on Troy with Cook and Creel. They rip some field goals. They get out in front or whatever. And then all of the offense flows through these guys. And you're buying that Goose is so immobile. Maybe Goose gets replaced, banged up, whatever. Kilcrease maybe comes in. That gets you some stuff there. But I don't even think you need that necessarily. Maybe it's just Goose throws the ball, gets negative rushing production. Lovett scores once on the ground. Epps or Taylor gets 3 for 60 and Epps gets a touchdown or 2, right? You're buying into that, probably a touchdown. And then Cook just blows up. So I think that is very viable in this spot. And then lastly is I think the main way that nobody's going to play it is with Lovett as captain. FanDuel, I think people do play Lovett because he's a starting running back for extremely cheap. But I like Lovett as the captain on DK, given that he just hasn't been able to, he hasn't had the ball in his hands. So Tay Meadows has been the main guy. That gives you Cook, Creel, Johnson, Taylor, and Epps. So I like that as well. That's a similar build to a few other ones, but it just is these are all guys that I'm super comfortable with. If you wanted Epps to be rah-rah, I think it's fine. I have no issues going with Epps or rah-rah. More passes should go the way of Epps in the game script of, he's just got more pass equity, whereas Rara just has more ceiling. He has more ceiling if to catch a long touchdown, I would say. But I have no issues going with either one if you wanted to mix and match and play multiple lineups in this spot. So I think both are extremely viable. Favorite captain is probably Caden Creel, the Jack State quarterback. I would say Creel, Taylor, Cook, and Lovett are my favorite plays in the game overall. And then Johnson's in there on the back end. All right. Let's talk some portal stuff because that's what I'm most interested in right now. I think this is extremely important. So they got these guys ranked, which is kind of funny. I have my own rankings because I hadn't looked at their ranking yet. Everybody's going to agree Levitt's number one. It's not close. I think Miami ends up with one of the big three. I would personally put Lagway ahead of Sorsby and Raiola. More so, I think that's due to Raiola just being banged up right now for me. If Raiola was healthy, I would put Raiola at 2. Raiola not healthy, I'll put Lagway at 2. I still think Lagway's been banged up a ton. He's played fine. I know I'm probably the biggest Lagway hater. I was right that he wasn't going to be good this year. That's just where I was at. And if anybody says Caton Hauser is a good pickup for anybody, I'd say you're nuts. I think the top 4 is very clear. I rank them differently. I prefer Lagway. I do think Lagway ends up getting a big job, whether that's Miami or wherever is going to be determined. I think Levitt probably gets his pick of the litter in this spot. Raiola's probably going to have his pick. It'll be interesting to see who goes to Florida because somebody's going to have to go there. I don't know who that would be. Maybe Minchie. Minchie is a good fit in that system. After them, I would say I probably prefer Hauser's not even on my list, in fairness. I'm not interested in Hauser. After them, I would put personally Colton Joseph as the next best guy behind Sorsby. I know Minchie has a case. It's a Joseph Minchie conversation for me as the next man up. I would be interested in both. Both are extremely mobile. Both have massive question marks around their throwing capability. I just think Joseph has slightly better passing ability than Kenny Minchie. Minchie has more pedigree, but I think Joseph is a good player, a pretty daggone good player, and he's more mobile than you would expect. So I do like him. And then where is he? Is he all the way down? Like, do they just dislike my mans? Maybe he's not even on here. I swear I saw. Let me double check. I don't think he's in there. Yeah, he's in the portal. What is On3 doing? So you know who's not on here? And that would be my next ranked quarterback. Behind Minchie and Joseph, I think it's a tight race for me between Dylan Lonergan, which they haven't added yet, but he's in the portal, and Aiden Childs. So both of them we've seen flashes from. They're both capable of producing. Childs, we've seen flashes from plenty. He's got a great build, throws the football well, makes awful decisions. I would tell you Lonergan is in a very similar boat, and they've each had games where they are really, really good. And they've each had games where they're really, really bad. So I would be interested in Lonergan first, Childs second. And that's kind of where I would be personally, where I would be happy about. Neither one extremely mobile, but mobile enough to get you a little bit of hidden yardage here and there. And then we hit the wild card of the bunch. So there's 3 wild cards. I think 2 of them end up transferring down. I'm interested to see where Jaden Craig ends up, the Harvard quarterback. Kid's pretty solid, but he has played with some extremely good weapons. He had Cooper Barkate before Barkate went to Duke. How much do you just lean on him and use him as a spam button? It's a question to be answered. I don't quite know on that one. I'm interested in that, but we'll see. And then 2 guys that I think end up probably transferring down are Nico Marchiol and Braden Fowler Nicolosi. So Nicolosi was supposed to go up after his first year, but then once he lost all of his wide receiver weapons, he's been kind of on a downward trajectory ever since. Marchiol's been banged up. Mobile quarterback, doesn't really fit the system. He fit the Neil Brown system. He does not fit he does not whatsoever fit the Rich Rod system. Where did Neil Brown go? Because he just signed somewhere. Okay. Yeah. North Texas. All right. I could see that. All right. I think Nico Marchiol probably ends up at North Texas with Neil Brown to be their quarterback. That makes a ton of sense. He's been in his system before, played for him at West Virginia, was his starter, was the heir apparent to Garrett Green. I think we do end up seeing him at North Texas. That's probably the likely landing spot for him. Fowler Nicolosi, I have no idea what happens to. Could he go to another Mountain West school? Does he end up going down to like a Sun Belt or I don't think he goes Conference USA, but he could. So that would be interesting for sure. I think Arrington Maiden probably ends up in Arkansas potentially because he's from that staff at Memphis. They transferred over. I could see that happening. But otherwise, it is a very and then Jackson Arnold's going to be in there, but I think Jackson Arnold probably goes down to the AAC more than likely. You could see him at like a Tulane or something like that. So I would say it's very interesting at the top between either guys who a year ago would have been extremely heralded or guys who have kind of lost a little luster, we'll say, from Raiola Lagway. Levitt's lost a little bit, but I think Levitt ends up getting a big job. And Miami's just going to buy a quarterback. I think Rocco goes in probably and goes to Penn State as well. That's going to give you some more movement. So that's where things are extremely interesting with the number of quarterbacks that are probably still to move. Byron Brown probably on the move. Auburn's going to grab a guy. Who it'll be, I'm not sure. It could easily be Byron Brown to continue the Golesh system. But we're going to continue talking through this stuff, especially as these dominoes start to fall. And it'll be fun. It's kind of like playing Madden career mode as a GM, which is kind of what I enjoy. I don't even care about playing the game. I care about building the roster. So it's one of the favorite parts. That's why I like the MLB offseason so much. But so, yeah, good luck tonight, everybody. We'll share this reminder that we're going to be playing. If I was playing one team, I'm playing Caden Creel as my captain. I want Cam Cook. I want Lovett. I want DeAndre Johnson with those guys. And then, Taylor's a great option as well. It just kind of depends. I think mixing and matching is a little bit better way to play this today. But, yeah, we get a bowl game. So no complaints there. Nice little short runway today. And then we'll probably I don't know why they're not offering a 2-game slate tomorrow. There's just Showdown. So we got Showdown today, Showdown between Old Dominion USF tomorrow, Showdown between Missouri State and Arkansas State the next day. So if that's all DK is going to offer, then so be it. I'll have that be our stuff. And then Friday we get a 3-gamer, which is nice. Looking forward to that. So yeah, so I'll have Old Dominion and running backs probably tomorrow. I'll have Missouri State, Arkansas State, and wide receivers currently that I'm looking into on Thursday, and then we'll start ripping the Friday slate and go heavy on the Friday. Actually, it'll end up being a live before lock basically on Friday because there's a 10 a.m. start time Central. So that's what we'll kind of have, and it'll be a good time. We'll start looking forward to getting some of these more heavier bowl game days. But I would highly suggest setting alarms 30 minutes before games so you can start trying to look into everything. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good luck with the game tonight. Hopefully we can win a little something and start building a little more on the back end of the year here to have a little more to play with for the big slates down the stretch.